Hi, and welcome back to the BlueScreen Brothers. I have my brother Marius with me today. Hello, Marius.
Hello.
We are today looking into some of the new exciting features that are appearing into Entra ID. It's out
Yes,
now in a preview.
that's correct. It's been long awaited,
Yeah,
and
and
that's the ability to convert Active Directory groups to Entra ID managed groups.
yeah, cool.
So, yeah, so a bit on the background on why we want this. So, this is how many people have done it up until now, where they have some kind of group on-prem. This might have existed for like 25 years since they introduced Active Directory, and might be in use by different kinds of applications, right? So you might have like app one that consumes this group. And then they suddenly needed this group in Entra ID as well, either to grant access to something in SharePoint Online or some application federated to Entra ID or similar. So we just included it in the Entra ID Connect sync. And Olav, what happens to a group when you sync it from Active Directory and I try to edit it in Entra ID?
Well, you are allowed to see it and use it, but you cannot edit it. So you
Correct.
cannot do any changes in the cloud for that
Yeah.
group.
So we'll get a just access denied, right? Doesn't
Yeah.
work at all. And that has sort of been the problem. And let's say this is a group where we would like to put, well, everyone that is in department X in, right? So in Active Directory, you never really had any features to do this dynamically. So maybe you've done something like this. You had a PowerShell script or something that maintained the memberships. But we have features in Entra ID that can be used, right? Like a criteria-based group. But we cannot convert this to a criteria-based group in Entra because it's read-only. And this is what's being fixed now, which is awesome. Because what's happened is that we suddenly have like all in department X2. So we just have created a new group in Entra, and then we use this instead. And this is criteria-based, but suddenly we have 3 groups to do the same thing. And maybe we even combine it with group writeback. So we have something like this going on. So we have 4 groups to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's been a tough thing to handle for many. So let's see what we can do here. Let's go to Active Directory first. So we have an Active Directory here where we can now create a group. Let's just call it something all in department X. Okay. And let's just add a few users. My other screen, there we go. So let's add these 2 guys here. Okay. And of course, we want to invoke connect sync like this. So this, of course, is something people have seen a gazillion times, and this will now appear in my tenant. So if we go into groups, we search for something like all in. If we are lucky, we will get it very soon, and we can consider adding a skip in YouTube if you're happy, Olav, and want to do that. It will appear very soon.
Yeah. It usually take a couple of minutes when it's small changes, so it should be all in department X. There you have it.
Also, I call it E, so I search for the wrong thing. So a good mix of Norwegian and English. So we have a group. This group here is, of course, now not possible to delete. We cannot fix the description. We cannot add members. It's read-only.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at it in graph instead. Groups / here. If we now just switch to beta, where Microsoft is publishing all like early things, and find something named on-premises sync behavior, we will find something interesting. So here is a new property, is cloud managed. And this is by default false for every group that is synchronized from Active Directory.
Yeah.
What we can actually do
and
now.
This one is required that you have the right connector version, right?
Yes. So the attribute is there and no matter, but what you will need to do if with Entra ID Connect, that was good you said, is to to have the latest version, or either the latest or the next latest, which at least the one that came late July in 2025. Then you will have a sync engine that actually understands this attribute. Because what will happen now is that if we take our group and patch it, we will just remove all of this and say, is cloud managed? True, patch. Okay, so we got an OK back. And we can also verify that if we just get the same thing, we can now see, is cloud managed is now true. Yes. If we go back to the Entra ID portal and just refresh, voila, the delete button is suddenly working. And I can go in and I can add a description like this. And I can go to members and I can remove a person from the group. I could now also go to properties, dynamic user. I can switch it to a criteria-based group instead. So let's say I want everyone that has a display name or something. Yeah, display name. Alphabet took a beating there. Let's see. Starts with AD space Dave. Like this, that was just because I know that matches two of my users. Of course, the criteria can be anything. But now Entra will manage the memberships of this group.
Yeah, but here it's also important that now you can get the benefit of adding cloud-only users. But when you are replicating it back, the user will not exist in your AD, so it will not be in your local group anymore. So
exactly. So what we have done now is that if we look at this picture, we have done like this. We have just disabled this arrow.
Yeah.
So this is now no longer happening, essentially.
Yeah.
And that means that any change that we now choose to do to this group in Active Directory. So let's find a group. Let's AD description. Let's just call it that, like this. Now, if we again start Entra Connect and sync to Entra, nothing will happen. So it will just see that, okay, the group was updated, but the group is also cloud managed, so we will not do anything. So right now we haven't enabled writeback yet, but we have essentially just said that now we have two different groups and they are not the same thing anymore. We can rename them. We can even delete the Active Directory group fully, and it will continue to live on in the cloud as a cloud-only group.
Yeah, so this is also a way of transforming from on-prem AD groups to cloud-only groups. If you want to do it, then you can use this way.
Correct. But what we would really like to do is that what if because we still have this app 1 in Active Directory that also need this group, but we don't want to manage them to places. So actually we would like to do this, right?
Yeah.
We would like to turn around the sync. So what we can do now is that we can use the group writeback feature in Entra. I have already configured it in my tenant. It's just that you need to install the Cloud Sync agent and configure this by adding a new configuration named Microsoft Entra ID to AD sync. So you can see this is just disabled. I haven't enabled the automation for it yet. If we go to this configuration, and this is essentially default. Now, this will have a few steps that you can configure, such as a scoping filter. So here I actually don't really understand why Microsoft has done it so difficult to add additional groups, but that's just me. You have two options. You can say all security groups, and then you can filter on attributes on the groups, or you can say selected groups, which will allow you to say exactly which groups is it that we want to sync back.
Yeah, so you can test one on one group. You don't have to do it on all your groups at once. So
correct. So if I now take this all department X users and I just include it in my writeback and save. If I now go to provision on demand, because I don't want to enable everything for all the groups, I just want to, and also don't want to wait. So I want to test this right now. Click provision. We should see that the sync engine here takes over, and you see modified attributes. So it actually goes in and modifies some of the attributes on the group. As an example, it actually adds the display name. The display name isn't really used for anything on groups in Active Directory usually, but it adds it because it's a part of the default attribute map. It also moves to group, because I have configured it to always move all my writeback groups to an OU named writeback groups. And it also has an admin description. It's also possible to do like transformations on these attributes. If you would like to say that the group always is named Entra ID writeback X or something, you can easily do that. So if we look at the group in Active Directory now, we should hopefully see that it's here. And there it is. And under groups here, if we refresh that as well, it's moved from here.
Yeah, but it's still the same group. So
yes.
So it will have the same access token possibilities in your AD. Or the same SIDs
same
and
SID. Yes, same SID, correct. Yeah. So from Kerberos' perspective, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So what is important to understand also is that when we go to members here, if I go in here and add another member, so let's say that I take the account that doesn't exist, but this one, and adds it to the group. Entra doesn't understand this. Entra is only based on changes. So that means that the writeback will essentially only add and remove users from the group when they are added and removed from Entra. So that means that this Marius user will never be removed, essentially.
So it doesn't sync both ways. It will not appear in the cloud, but it will still be in AD. So you will have mismatch between the two groups.
Yeah. So you should do one or two things. Either deny write permissions in Active Directory on these writeback groups, so that they are never touched, or as soon as I publish my little script that will do this for you, you can have an option to essentially make sure that the group is the same as in Entra, the members, so that you can do what Microsoft is calling reconciliation. I know Microsoft is working on that feature, but I have no idea when that will happen. So I will create a quick little reconciliation script that will sort of go along to actually make sure that you have the correct members. But so and that I would recommend to do once, and then just deny access to the group.
Yeah. Will there be any visible way of seeing that it doesn't get synchronized to the cloud, or some logging just to see if this is working and if it's not working and what's not working?
Yeah, so you can go into the sync engine here. Let's see if I find that one somewhere. Let's see. And yeah, if I remember where it is, let's take this one. There it is. So if we go here now, we should see that. So it's not really logging, but you can see here that the group was updated in Active Directory. Like this, we did an update on the description in here.
Yeah.
But you will never see that there's an export on it. So if you find the group in the sync engine, you will see this Department X group. And you will essentially see that this is not handled by the sync engine. So if you look at this one, you will see not cloud mastered, which would make sense.
Yeah.
But it's this one, block on-premises sync is true.
Okay. Yeah.
So that is one way to sort of see them. But no, you don't have any logging in Entra Connect. But you can, of course, see all the groups in the audit log that has this attribute changed. And you can also essentially find all groups that has this set to true. Okay,
yeah. So there are still some monitoring parts missing from Microsoft, but this is just in preview now. So
yeah.
There might
also
be.
You have so on the writeback itself, you also have this provisioning log.
Yeah.
So this provisioning log will contain everything that happens, as you can see here, all the modified properties and everything.
Yeah.
So this should be monitored, meaning that I would recommend having a log analytics instance. We have this diagnostic settings where you can add a log analytics workspace. So make sure that you not do like me, but that you enable the what was it called? It's here, not this one. Yeah, it's somewhere here.
Yeah.
Provisioning logs. Is it there we go.
There we have it. Yeah.
Again, Alphabet is not the Microsoft strongest side, as you can see. So, but provisioning logs here, because then you can actually alert in log analytics saying that, okay, we got an error in the sync.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Cool. So it's quite easy to start getting to test out the feature because you can do it a single group at a time, and
exactly.
For now you have to use low-level utilities to change the setting to cloud managed. So, but you can get started with it and see if you have groups that you will try this on or create test groups. So it's not that hard to start using it, and I will guess in some near future it will be easier to set it up, and in many ways you will start to move groups to the cloud, because I have really missed the feature of adding my cloud-only users to some of the groups, and
exactly.
Then you have to fake it or use two groups or something else that's not that
dynamic
optimized.
Groups that contains other groups and all of those different workarounds that they don't really scale all that well, right? Because you're adding so many additional objects. So it's worth noting that the feature is in public preview, but the Entra Connect version is not in preview. That's like the GA version of Entra ID Connect. So
you don't have to do any changes that actually are not recommended because you are using released version. It's only the groups that you are adding. So be careful and not select all groups. But you also told me earlier that you can reverse the settings. So if you have done it the wrong way, you can reverse it if you want to.
Correct. So you can actually just adjust this back to false, and then the sync will take over again, and you will be back. Of course, now I have moved it in Active Directory, so I would then need to go in and move it back to my groups OU. But yes, you can do that. So that is also very, very, very useful if you do something that you didn't plan on having permanently or something, or something went wrong.
Cool. So it's actually just to get started and testing it out. So so we will also put a link to your blog post if you want to have more information about it.
That's quite detailed on the different things here.
Yeah, perfect. Well, then we'll say good changes for everybody.
Yes.
So
happy changing.
Okay. Happy changing. Yeah. Okay. Well,
bye.
We will see you around. Bye bye.